Hello, everybody, and welcome to this special episode. It's a midweek news clip here on Bitcoin.com exchange official channel. I'm your host, Alex Mascioli, and we have two special guests piping in on the Bitcoin price action that's been happening this week. And if you don't know him and use Bitcoin.com exchange, Danish Chaudhry, he's the CEO of Bitcoin.com exchange. He runs the joint. And we're also joined by Rob, who is the host of Digital Asset News on YouTube. And if you haven't seen his channel, you have to. He's like, Rob, what are you, 87, 88, 90,000 subscribers strong now? Come on.
Something like that. I just know that I got Alex as a subscriber in Danish, so that's all I really need.
we tip the scales.
Done. Yeah.
So we're lucky to have these guys with us today discussing what's been happening all week, which is really the first time any of us could get this excited since December 2017. But this time it's different. And we're going to talk over the whys of why that's happening, look at the charts a little, see what's happening there. Look at some social media sentiment, as well as get Danish and Rob's voices on what's happening in the retail market now. Is it people flooding in? Are we going to see a market increase? But, you know, Danish, let's start with you.
Yeah.
Bitcoin.com exchange, you know, a really prolific retail exchange in the crypto market. You got a lot of users on a day-over-day basis. Bitcoin is now, well, I believe it was yesterday we hit the market cap all-time high for Bitcoin.
That was it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
wasn't it this morning? This morning I woke up to.
This morning, but I may
still. That's true.
No.
Yeah.
And then also we're at the second highest, the second highest high since the infamous December price. Are we gonna see the same type of FOMO coming into the market like we did last time?
I don't know yet, right? Like, so people are saying this time is different. I would like to think it is from what we're seeing. Obviously, from a retail perspective, obviously we're seeing a lot more inflows, but a lot of the flows is still, around the DeFi space, around the decentralized exchanges, etc. We are launching, quite a few new tokens and stuff. So a lot of activity goes there. We've seen increased activity on our margin side of things, but I think Bitcoin's been on such a run that people are kind of afraid of playing margin as well, or those leverage positions sort of thing. I do think it's a little bit different. I see a less of a retail euphoria as it was last time around, because we were there in 2017 and 2016, and 2016 kind of rolled into the ICO boom and everything. 2017, people were like, oh shit, I'm putting all my kids' savings in Bitcoin. I want to buy $100 of this, $2,000 of this, et cetera, et cetera. I think now it's a little bit more, Bitcoin has become more normalized, and maybe people are a little bit more, not desensitized, but people are they already had eyes on Bitcoin going on a run. So it's less of a shock, I think, from a retail perspective. I think retail is still kind of focused on quite a few non-Bitcoin coins. I think this time it's a lot more, and you know how the whole meme was like, institutions are coming, et cetera. But over the last, I think, month or so, 2 months, you've seen 2 or 3 fund managers come out and say, hey, let's talk about Bitcoin, or they've tweeted about Bitcoin. Just yesterday, earlier this week, Macy Williams from Game of Thrones was talking about Bitcoin. What's her name? Another TV show host, Ricky Lake, was talking about Bitcoin on Twitter. Like, all of this stuff is kind of like, it's different from the traditional, like the local, retail stuff that we saw in 2017. So I think it is a little bit different. This is post the halving as well. So I think this might be less of a whipsaw that we saw last time, essentially.
Yeah, and let me ask you this too. What do you think is more important into the market right now, as far as instilling, confidence or spreading that message to the retail side? Is it, hey, institutions are coming in, or is it someone from Game of Thrones talking about it on TV or What's driving the participants?
I think it's a bit of both, right? So crypto Twitter talks about, more crypto Twitter really harps on to whoever is the institutional fund manager talking about it on Twitter, sort of thing. So like most crypto Twitter, most TA guys kind of like, oh shit, like the hedge fund's coming. What Ray Dalio's talking about Bitcoin, yada, yada, yada. But I think the wider retail market kind of prefers that somebody like Macy Williams is talking about it, and Game of Thrones star is talking about it. Like, that's more significant to the retail market than your fund manager. Like Joe Bloggs walking down the street doesn't know who Ray Dalio is. Like, they don't really care, sort of thing. But I think somebody sitting in front of the couch looking at their Game of Thrones star tweeting and talking about Bitcoin, that matters a little bit more, I think.
Yeah, I think so.
What's your opinion on that?
I think it's like with everything. I think people, what they do is everybody does the same thing as far as buying. They buy an emotion and they back it up by facts. Yeah. So the same thing what Danish just said was, well, I don't know what's going on in this traditional market world, but Ricky Lake is talking about it, and the person from Game of Thrones is talking about it. So that sounds pretty cool. And when they get into it, they're like, hey, there's a guy named Druckenmiller, and he's a legend. Paul Tudor Jones apparently is a legend for trading. And then all these big institutions are getting in. So maybe that's it. So I think people will look at it like, this is good for mass adoption, for people to go, oh, I know that person. And to back it up again by facts and go, well, we've got the micro strategies, we got the squares, we got all these big business going in. Maybe I should get in. But I will say this. I talked to my brother yesterday. He's a big traditional market guy. And he's always bragging to me about how he made double his money on Visa over like 10 years. I'm like, whatever, who cares? Double your money. We call it a Tuesday in crypto. I don't care. Yeah. So I talked to him about it, and I said, well, watch out for Bitcoin. He goes, oh, Bitcoin? Didn't it used to be worth 20,000? Now it's worth 18,000. So they just dismiss it. So I think it's the same thing. Once people get to 20, 21, 22, 25, and they go back and go, hold on, now they're talking about Bitcoin go to 150, 250, then to 500K. Maybe I should look into it.
Yeah, definitely.
And Rob, you have tens of thousands of viewers that subscribe to your channel. I know you're getting bombarded with messages all the time. We talk about it, people asking about different products you use or they use and your opinions. But these are the type of people that are watching you are either in crypto for 1 month or 1 year or 3 years. So there's a whole bunch of different levels of experience. What are some of the type of market questions you get asked? I mean, I'm sure you get asked, hey, Rob, is Bitcoin going to double in price by next week? Let me know so I can buy something.
Yeah. They say, hey, Rob, is Danish single? I said, I don't know. So the type of questions that I get, because I'm always, on my channel, I'm talking about dollar cost averaging because I'm not a trader. And the big thing I get asked is, hey, since everything is going up, are you still going to dollar cost average? I'm like, yeah, I'm still going to dollar cost average. I might go down a little bit, and then I'm waiting for the dips. So those types of things. And then the next biggest questions I get are, and this is a great question. Actually, we talked about this today as far as exit strategies, which are, should I start to sell at this point? Because I don't know what's going to happen. And I always tell them like this, no one's got a crystal ball, but I can tell you what happened in history, which was in 2017, myself and everybody else thought this would go up and never stop. We thought institutions were right around the corner and we're going to make a ton of money, and it was going to $1 million, just like McAfee said. Well, that didn't work out. I said, you can play that game and think it could go up because now that institutions are here. But if you look at history about what's going on, especially with the dips and the valleys and everything else, you probably want to sell a little bit and just have it a step ladder staggered effect and do a little bit of profits along the way. Because who knows? Do you want to be like me and hold your losses for 2-3 years? Or do you want to have something in the bank in case an emergency comes up or a massive dip happens like we saw in March? So you have to be smart about it and don't just start to trade an emotion like what everybody else does. And then second question I get is, should I get into Bitcoin Cash? And I say,
yes, you always should. Yes, by default, the best kind of Bitcoin. Okay.
So actually, Danish, this actually was a question because on my portfolio, I don't have Bitcoin Cash. And they said, hey, Rob, they go, in all honesty, you talk a good game because you're talking about Ethereum and smart contracts. And that's why you have Cardano and you got XRP and he got stellar. So why don't you have Bitcoin Cash? And I said, you know what? You're right. In all honesty, I really should have Bitcoin Cash in there because transactions, what is it, 60 TPS?
Yeah. It's really fast.
For 6 transactions per second. A friend of mine, George, even texted me this morning. He goes, I want to sell my Bitcoin Cash for Ethereum. I said, why don't you just keep Bitcoin Cash and also get Ethereum? Because guess what? It's Bitcoin Cash, Ethereum, and Litecoin. Where's that being sold? On PayPal. You can't bet against that. You cannot bet against that. So.
Yep. Well, that's a smart choice. I think Bitcoin Cash we just went through a hard fork, or Bitcoin Cash just went through a hard fork. And I think that's still kind of being decided, Bitcoin ABC versus Bitcoin BCHN. But I think if we went back to just Bitcoin Cash as we know it, the technology is really what it was supposed to, what originally it was supposed to do. Like, it was peer-to-peer electronic cash. Like, I go to a store, pay with Bitcoin Cash, and it's like instant like that, right? Like, Alex, every time he shows up to London, he's like, hey, send me some of your Bitcoin Cash. He literally just holds up his wallet. I swipe in a second and it gets sent, sort of thing. So, I mean, I'm not saying everybody should only have Bitcoin Cash, but I think it's a good addition to a portfolio. And I think over the last, if you zoom out on the chart there, Alex, it's kind of been ranging around the 200, 300 mark. I think, it's primed to appreciate now that, some of the contention is kind of settled, or will be settled soon as the fork subsides. And I think, there's more upside to come to it. So I think it's definitely one of the good ones to hold in the portfolio.
Yeah. And then one more thing I'll add is that we were going over the charts and we took a look at Litecoin. Litecoin had an impressive last 3 days. And when I look at it, I'm like, well, nothing has changed. There's no, big upgrades going on. But I will tell you this, if you're a PayPal user and you're looking at Bitcoin, you're like, well, I can't afford that. It's 17,000 at that point.
Yep.
Bitcoin Cash, well, that sounds like a pretty good option. And then Ethereum, well, those are like in the hundreds, but this Litecoin could be the next Bitcoin. I don't really know anything about crypto. I'm just going to buy Litecoin. And I think that's the same thing with Bitcoin Cash. If you look at it and go, and they don't know anything, which is fine. We just say, well, Bitcoin, well, that's Bitcoin Cash. We can use that as cash. I'm going to get that.
Exactly, right? And you bring up a good point. Like, there is a power in the denomination and the pricing of an asset. And I've seen it when particular assets get listed on, say, for example, Coinbase. Something that is 10 cents gets far more volume than something that's $100, right? Because, like, mentally the person's thinking, oh, I can get 1,000 of these for, $10 versus I can get one of these for, or a quarter of this. Like, that's not good enough, sort of thing.
I think you're right with that mentality too, right? So people are always like, well, I can't afford a whole Bitcoin, or I can't afford, a whole Bitcoin Cash. So I'm just going to get, I don't know, what's the price of Hex right now? One of those. And, the thing is that you don't need to buy a whole coin. Participate in the fractional ownership of it. You can buy 0.001 of Bitcoin and participate in that wave.
Yeah. I think on the pricing, like, it's a bigger move to go from 0.001 to 0.002, 0.003, whatever it is, rather than going from like 18 to like 28 to like whatever sort of thing. I think it's just kind of easier to move smaller denominations. But
it's like playing penny stocks,
basically.
It only makes sense, and people want that whole. They want to own one whole thing, whether and percentages of, like, I don't care. I want 20%, but I got 10,000 of Doge or whatever
of these things.
Oh, geez. Let's talk about what we touched on before, which is social media. And one of the biggest things that has come around with Twitter is also the data that comes out of that and how it affects the price. And one of the interesting things, there's a company called the Tide that came out with data. And here on the trade to chain chart, you can see a relative tweet volume of Bitcoin up 83.93%. This is less than half of what it was yesterday. It just goes to show you that the amount of traction that social media drives to one of these coins and participation in the bull run, to have a tweet volume of Bitcoin in the 200+% increase range. It's so dramatic over the average day. And I think, hey, listen, if the Kardashians featured Bitcoin in one of their reality show episodes, I think
everybody was rushing to PayPal to buy some Bitcoin right now.
Yeah. No, it's
everybody would know what it was.
Yeah. And this is what's crazy about Twitter. You look at Twitter, you're like, because that really moves. I think that's more of an indicator than anything else as far as the crypto market. Because if you look at Google Trends or the Google AdWords type of thing where they look at searches, Bitcoin on a spectrum between 0 and 100, where 0 they're not talking about at all, and 100 is the most of all time. The highest was in December 2017. And right now, you know what it is? 13.
Yeah.
13. So if you look at that, you're like, well, are people just not doing the searches? No, it's because Twitter drives a lot of things, I think.
Yeah. It definitely does. I think it's crypto in general is now kind of being normalized across social media a little bit. Like I see people posting videos of TikTok guys posting about Doge or investing in X token or whatever token or BTC or whatever sort of thing. So like if TikTok people are doing it sort of thing, it's only a matter of time that, it gains more momentum.
That was a pretty good campaign they did. They tried to push up Doge to $1.
I know. It actually bumped it up a little bit. It was kind of,
Yeah. So for all those crypto exchanges out there, look towards the TikTokers, because
that's where
money well spent.
That's where we're going to be going next. I thought Alex and his studio would be like, the next coming of crypto stuff, but maybe I got to go a few years younger on that one.
Rob, going back to Google and search terms, I have a chart pulled up here with Bitcoin in it, and it is at the 100 mark for November 18th. What does that mean?
So November 18th of right now, November 18th, 2020. Let's take a look. So what you need to do is look at the ranges. So if you're looking at a 1 month range or a 3 month range or a 6 month range or a 1 year range.
So I'm looking at from October 18th to right now.
Oh, so do me a favor. So up on the top part there should be a way to do a drop down of like 6 months, 1 month, all time.
Doing all time. Why don't you put it up on screen?
Yeah, that's right.
Here, let me do this. Let
me figure this out.
Yeah, it was just so interesting to me on, looking at this chart. I'm like, well, what does that mean when it hits 100? Is it not able to go any farther?
No, it's just, you know what it's like? It's like your pain level. So like, when you're in the hospital, 0 is no pain, 10 is the most intense pain you've ever felt in your life. Where's your pain level at? So this type of thing is like, how much are you talking about Bitcoin? 0, like no one's talking about it, or 10 or 100, everybody and their mother.
Everybody's talking about it.
Yeah. So look
interesting.
So look, I'm going to share my screen. Let me do this. Where'd you go? Share screen. Boop, boop, boop. So, okay. So we're here on Google Trends, right? So we're looking at, this is going from right now, November, because it always goes by weeks, right? All the way back to 2019. So in a 1 year time frame, in May 2020 was the highest. Now it's 82. But if we look at this,
and May would have been, that looks like it would have been around the halving.
Right.
Yeah.
So if you do a 5 year, this of course, December 2017. Yeah. And we look over here.
It's really not that much, eh?
Oh, wow.
So that's what I'm talking about. And this is the most fascinating thing, because you'd think like you'd see a lot of Google searches, but no. But we take a look at Twitter. So it lends to the fact of, we should be looking more towards Twitter as far as trends of what drives the market instead of Google.
But it's also like, I think like this shows that people already know kind of what Bitcoin is, right? So that's why people aren't Googling, hey, what is Bitcoin sort of thing, I suppose. Or at least that's what I take away. I'd be like, people know what it is, and people are more normalized to it, which is why, it's people go to Twitter and that sort of stuff. Before it was like, people are like, hey, what is Bitcoin sort of thing? So I definitely get, less questions now about what is Bitcoin. I think people already know and they're like, oh, you work at Bitcoin.com. Well, you know what Bitcoin is. So that sort of thing. Like, I still don't get the technology, but maybe you can explain it at some point. But, it's not like, what is this? Like, what is this magical thing? Sort of thing. So.
I'll tell you where they can go. To find out, they can go right here. danteachescrypto.com. 100% free website, and I simplify everything. Shameless plug. You're welcome.
I was gonna say you really slipped that in there, like that. That's great.
It is a fantastic resource. It's 100% free. So if you just opened up your Bitcoin.com exchange account and you need to learn a little more, Dan Teaches Crypto is a place to go. So for sure.
Yeah, let me know. I'll send it around to our audience as well by email and stuff. So
yeah, perfect. We simplify it, then we do like a Q&A section. There's a PDF download they can use, and it breaks down to 5 sections: the basics, the safety, investing, how do I, and I think TA or something like that. So yeah, easy peasy, as my grandson says.
Where do we see Bitcoin going over the course of the next week?
That's Danish's department.
Yeah, let me look at my cool crystal ball. No, I think I really hope that it normalizes around the 17, 18K mark for a week. I think gives the alt some breathing room. I think by end of year we should. I am aiming for a 2022 number. I think Tone Vase and I had a bet. I think, or actually we were there too. I think we were having a chat really drunkenly at the beginning of when COVID happened, a 2-hour live stream. No, I think I'm aiming for the 2022 mark. Hopefully we reach that. I think that's also what's different about this time around. Bitcoin is at an all-time high market cap wise, just for Bitcoin. But the overall market cap of alts is not that high. It's like half of what it was in 2017. 2017, we almost touched $1 billion. Everybody's like, oh, 900 million, billion, et cetera, et cetera. This time around, we're just like 600, 500 million, I think.
Or that's because people learned their lesson.
Yeah, people learn, but yeah, I think that's what's a little bit different. But yeah, I think we should hit 2022 in the next month at least.
22K, gangster.
You know what's different about this? First of all, this feels different. And I think, there's
no BitMEX in the market right now. That's why I kind of there's no Arthur around. That's what's different. Yeah.
How dare you? I've got a bunch of open positions. I'm sure I'm gonna get my money back. I don't know what's
up. Of course you are. Oh, June of next year expiries, right? It's just that, now there's a couple different grown-ups in the space. You got the market makers. You have more crypto funds. You have some institutional money coming in. And even though it's not like what we all dreamed about happening, as quickly as we wanted to, the difference, I think, is just that there's more stability and uniformity in the price action that's happening. As opposed to in 2017, you asked somebody in the run-up, you said, hey, so why did you buy that coin? They're like, because it's going to go up, man.
I think like you reach a plateau, you almost start plateauing. Like you're not so concentrated in one, 500,000 people that are just doing it. It's more, it's a wider spectrum now.
Yeah, exactly. It's more stability.
Yeah, that, and what I've seen a little bit less of is tribalism. It seems like it's not as bad as it used to be, which is weird to me, because when I first got in, everybody hated everybody.
Trust me, the Marines are still out there. The armies are still out
XRP,
there.
Everybody's still there. But I think we have moved on quite a bit from 4chan and the Link Marines and that sort of stuff, and them driving the price and the sentiment. I think now it's a little bit more reaching some maturity and adulthood sort of thing.
Yeah. No, totally. Because I talk about this all the time. We're kind of like a dysfunctional family, right? No one likes their, one of the brothers or sisters, but if you attack them, then you got to attack everybody. So it's kind of like one of those things about hey, how dare you talk about IOTA? How dare you?
So, I think there was on tribalism. I think Alex and I were speaking to Roger. I think this was 4 months ago or 5 months ago, when Alex was in town in London, and that was around the time that Tim Draper tweeted, "Hey, Bitcoin Cash is really cool," or whatever tweet it was, unprompted or whatever. But I think that's when tribalism kind of came back a little bit, because everybody just started going on his tweet like Bitcoin Cash this, Bitcoin Cash that, it should be Bitcoin, blah blah, and he ended up removing his tweet. But I think even still, it's only been 5 months, but since then, we've even matured a little bit, because that sort of activity has subsided a little bit now.
Yeah, imagine that in 2017 or 2018.
I know.
How to manipulated markets.
Yeah, I know. Exactly.
No way. No ICO manipulation.
Well, those were the times when Tika Tiwari used to come up with the Palm Beach report, and I remember looking at the charts, just waiting for what coin he was going to say, and like it would go up like 50% because he put it in some stupid report sort of thing.
That's the OG Coinbase effect right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the ultimate right there. That guy was the real kingmaker back in the day.
Yeah, he was the Ian Bellina, and him and those guys were the ones that kind of, did all this stuff. I don't know where they are now, but
I'll tell you exactly where Ian is.
I was gonna say, I was like,
me and Ian just did a video 3 months ago or something like that, because the question was, how do you do your own research? Because people would always ask me that, and then people would answer in my comment section like, oh, well, just look at the project, and then look at GitHub, and then look at the people behind it, and they're like, I don't know where to find that. So I brought Ian on, because he was one who used to do that. And then so he did that part, and then he talked about token metrics. Token metrics, yeah. Which what's up?
Token metrics is his new consultant company or something, right?
Well, it's like an AI learning platform where they can they help to predict. Listen, on that platform, there is some good information. I'm not going to take away from Ian, but it was one of those things where like the information he gave on the do your own research was gold. It was like 5 good pieces, and it was gold. And then, of course, on that same interview, I asked him, Ian, I got to ask you, man, what's up with the whole shilling thing?
Yeah.
And he's like, and he answered it. And he answered it. Well, they want to do this and this and this. So I will give respect to everybody who actually comes on and says, I just didn't do this thing right, but I learned my mistakes on going forward. Because who says, I made a mistake these days? Effing nobody.
Nobody. That's true.
Oh gosh, Rob, if you asked me that question, we'd have a whole episode.
So this and here and here. Yeah. That one time. No, yeah.
Just ask my wife; she'll tell you all the time. Okay,
oh my God.
Yeah.
All right, guys, this has been great. Danish, thank you for hopping on.
Thanks for having us.
Yeah, dude.
That was fun.
Yeah, and Rob, Digital Asset News, check out his channel on YouTube. Danish is CEO of the Bitcoin.com exchange, this channel. And I'm your host, Alex Mascioli, for Bitcoin.com exchange here on YouTube. And if you guys want to, it's very quick, easy. If you guys want to open up an account, all the information is in the description. Go ahead, takes literally no time at all, and you're up and trading. You saw the charts that were going up. That's from the analytics page. So you get to go and see all the price actions and kind of chart out your movements. But it's quick and easy. Exchange.bitcoin.com. And, Rob slipped it in. We'll also throw down his dance in the description as well. It's definitely an easy place, an easy resource center for all the newbies out there who want to learn. Guys, thank you very much, and I'll see you guys later.
Thanks, Alex.
Good time.
Thanks.